I throw lecture on the subject Internet Technology. Subject code CS705A. This is for computer science and engineering students. I am Konkunjana, Assistant Professor of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management. JAS Group, it's a joint venture. This is module 1 of the subject Internet Technology, having the subject code CS705A. This lecture based on the syllabus of BTech Computer Science and Engineering of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, West Bengal, formerly known as West Bengal University of Technology. Module 1 have 6 lectures in total. The contents of Module 1 of Internet Technology for Computer Science and Engineering of 7th semester student is Introduction to Internet, which have 1 lecture and contains overview of it, Network of Networks, Internet, Extranet and Internet, World Wide Web, which have 1 lecture, Domain and Subdomain, Address Resolution, DNS, Telnet, FTP, HTTP, review of TCP/IP, which have 1 lecture. It's a featured segment, three-way handshaking, flow control, error control, congestion control, IP datagram, IP version 4, IP version 6. IP subnetting and addressing, which have 1 lecture. Classful and classless addressing, subnetting, NAT, IP, mask, coordinating, IP tables, Internet routing protocol, which have 1 lecture. Routing, intra and inter-domain routing, unicast and multicast routing, and broadcast. Electronic mail, which have 1 lecture, POP3 and SMTP. So we will start lecture 3 of module 1 in this session. I am using digital whiteboard for better dictation. Important points and some reference will be written in this board. And for practical demonstration, we will run code on JAM server when required. So we will start first TCP/IP protocol. The TCP/IP protocol suite was developed prior to the OSI model. Therefore, the layers in the TCP/IP protocol do not exactly match those in the OSI model. The original TCP/IP protocol suite was defined as having 4 layers: host to network, internet, transport, and application. However, when TCP/IP is compared to OSI, we can say that the host-to-host network layer is equivalent to the combination of the physical and data link layer. The internal layer is equivalent to the network layer, and the application layer is roughly doing the job of the session, presentation, and application layer. Application layer with all these things. Transport corresponding to this, internet this, and network layer work with these two layers. With the transport layer in TCP/IP taking care of part of the duties of the session layer also. We assume that the TCP/IP protocol suite is made of 5 layers, that is physical, data link, network, transport, and application. The first 4 layers provide physical standard, network interfaces, internet working, and transport function that correspond to the first 4 layers of the OSI model. The 3 topmost layers in the OSI model, however, are represented in TCP/IP by a single layer called the application layer. So in TCP/IP, this is a hierarchical protocol made up of interactive modules, each of which provide a specific functionality. However, the modules are not necessarily interdependent. Whereas the OSI model specifies which functions belong to each of its layers. The layers of the TCP/IP protocol suite contains relatively independent protocols that can be mixed and matched depending on the needs of the system. The term hierarchy means that each upper level protocol is supported by one or more lower level protocols. At the transport layer, TCP/IP defines 3 protocols: transmission control protocol, that is TCP, user datagram protocol, that is UDP, and stream control transmission protocol, that is SCTP. At the network layer, the main protocol defined by TCP/IP is the Internet Working Protocol. Okay, so there are almost some other protocols that support data movement in this layer. Specifically, these are the protocols that can help for transporting the data from one node to another node. Now, we need to transmit data. TCP transmit data in full duplex mode. When 2 TCPs in 2 machines are connected, they are able to send segments to each other simultaneously. This implies that each party must initialize communication and get approval from the other party before any data are transferred. That's why 3-way handshaking communication is required. 3-way handshaking communication. The connection establishment in TCP is called 3-way handshaking. In our example, suppose an application program called the client wants to make a connection with another application program. That is called the server. Using TCP as the transport layer protocol, the process starts with the server. The server program tells its TCP that it is ready to accept a connection. This is called a request for a passive open. Request for a passive open. Passive. Okay. Although the server TCP is ready to accept any connection from any machine in the world, it cannot make the connection itself. The client program uses a request for an active open at that time. Okay. So that wishes to connect to an open server tells the TCP that it needs to be connected to the particular server. TCP can now start the handshaking process as shown in this tag. Okay, client, okay, actively that will be sent to the server and passively it will be open. Okay, acknowledgement and that will be sent. To show the process, we use two timelines, one at each side. Each segment has values for all its header fields and perhaps for some of its option fields too. However, we show only the few fields necessary to understand each field. We show the sequence number, the acknowledgement number, the control flags and the window size if not. So the three steps in this phase are as follows. First one is the client sends the first segment, a sign segment in which only the sign flag is set. Sign segment. First one is the sign segment. This segment is for synchronization of sequence number. It consumes one sequence number. When the data transfer start, the sequence number is incremented by one. We can say that the SON segment carries no real data, but we can think of it as containing one imaginary byte. Next, onto the server send the second segment a sign and an acknowledgement ACK with two flag bit. With two flag bit. Okay. This segment has a dual purpose. These two flag bit. It is a sign segment of communication in the other direction and server as the acknowledgement for sign segment. It consumes one sequence number. Sequence plus acknowledgement segment cannot carry data but does consume one sequence number. Number 3 is the client. The client sends the third segment. This is just an acknowledgement segment. It acknowledges the receipt of the second segment with the acknowledgement flag and acknowledgement number, and this acknowledgement number field will be noted that the sequence number in this segment is the same as the one in the sign segment. The acknowledgement segment, ACK segment, does not consume any sequence number. ACK segment carrying no data consumes no sequence number. So simultaneously open a rare situation called a simultaneous open may occur when both processes issues an active open. In this case, both TCP transmit a sign and acknowledgement segment to each other. Next, one thing I like to discuss about the attack. This is the attack. Which type of attack? Sign attack. Flooding attack. Okay. The connection established procedure in TCP susceptible to a series of serious security problem called the sign flooding attack. This happens actually when a malicious attacker sends a large number of sign segments to a server pretending that each of them is coming from a different client by faking the source IP addresses in the datagram. The server, assuming that the clients are issuing an active open, allocate the necessary resources. At that moment, these segments to the fake clients, which are lost. During this time, however, a lot of resources are occupied without being used. If during this short time, the number of sign segment is large, the server eventually runs out of the resource and may crash. This flooding attack belongs to a type of security attack known as denial of service attack. Denial of service attack. Denial of service attack, in which attacker monopolize a system, so many services will be collapsed. Okay. Next, we'll know flow and error control. Flow and error control. Data communication requires at least two devices working together, one to send and the other to receive. Even such a basic arrangement requires a great deal of coordination for an intelligible exchange to occur. The most important responsibilities of the data link layer are flow control and error control. Flow control and error control that is will be governed by data link layer. Okay. Collectively, these functions are known as data link control. Next one is the flow control, and that it coordinates the amount of data that can be sent before receiving an acknowledgement and is one of the most important duties of the data link layer. In most protocol, flow control is a set of procedure that tells the sender how much data it can transmit before it must wait for an acknowledgement from the receiver. The flow of data must know how to allot we overwhelm the receiver. Any receiving device has a limited speed at which it can process incoming data and a limited amount of memory in which to store incoming data. The receiving devices must be able to inform the sending device before those limits are reached and to request that the transmitting device send fewer frames or stop temporarily. Okay, and that device will block a memory that is called a buffer and will reserve for storing incoming data until they are processed. If the buffer begins to fill up, the receiver must be able to tell the sender to halt transmission until it is once again able to receive. Flow control refer to a set of procedure used to restrict the amount of data that the sender can send before waiting for acknowledgement. Now, during the transmission, error can be occur, and how that will be controlled. First of all, we need to detect the error, and after that it will be corrected. It allows the receiver to inform the sender of the frames lost or damaged in transmission and coordinates the retransmission of those frames by the sender. In the data link layer, the term error control refers primarily to methods of error detection and retransmission. Error detection and retransmission in data link layer. Error control in data link layer is often implemented simply. Anytime an error is detected in an exchange, specified frames are retransmitted. And this is called automatic repeat request. Automatic repeat request. Error control in the data link layer is based on that. Which of the transmission of data. If the acknowledgement received, then that will be accepted. If no acknowledgement does not receive, that nothing will be accepted. Okay. So we will start next the congestion control. What is congestion control? A state occurring in network layer when the message traffic is so heavy that it slows down network response time. So what will be the effect of congestion? As delay increase, performance will be decreases. If delay increases, retransmission occurs, making situation worse. And we cannot visualize or cannot transfer any type of data. That will be controlled by algorithm, that is leaky bucket algorithm. Congestion control algorithm is leaky bucket algorithm. Let us suppose consider an example to understand. Imagine a bucket with a small hole in the bottom. No matter at what rate water enters the bucket, the outflow is at constant rate. When the bucket is full with water, additionally water entering spills over the side and is lost. Similarly, each network interface contains a leaky bucket and the following steps are involved in leaky bucket algorithm. What are the steps? When that is the step 1, when host wants to send packet, then packet is thrown into the bucket. Okay, it is thrown into the bucket. Step 2, the bucket leaks at a constant rate. Constant rate. Meaning the network interface transmit packets at a constant rate. Number 3 step, vastly traffic is converted to uniform traffic, to uniform traffic by the leaky bucket. And the last step 4, in practice the bucket is a finite queue. Bucket is a finite queue that outputs at a finite rate. Okay, output at a finite rate. Okay, next we know about the datagram, IP datagram. IP datagram consists of a header, and this is the format of IP datagram. A datagram is similar to a packet but does not require confirmation. Datagram are also called IP datagrams since they are used by the internet protocol. And a datagram header defines the source and destination of the data. Source and destination of the data as well as other information. Time to leave, TTL, and the specified protocol used to transfer the data. IP datagram consists header part and text part. Header part consists data and the text part. Okay. And next we will know about the IP version 4 address. It is 32-bit long and the address uniquely and universally defines the connection of a device. For example, suppose a computer or a router to the internet. One and only one connections to the internet. Okay. The IPv4 address are universal in the sense that the addressing system must be accessed by any host that wants to be connected to the internet. And a protocol that is the address space such as IPv4, the defines address has an address space. An address space is the total number of address used by the protocol. Okay. You have two notation, binary notation and the dotted decimal notation. Okay. An IPv4 address describes all short-term solutions such as classless addressing. This is the classless addressing, dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP and NAT address. Depletion is still a long-term problem for internet for implementing that one. That is the 128 bits long hexadecimal colon notation. For hexadecimal colon notation. So This is the format of 128, that is 32-bit hexadecimal notation. Okay. Thank you.